Welcome again, everyone, to this wonderful virtual knowledge platform. I'm Kantu Razafi Mandimbi. I work from Fanapan, so I will be your facilitator today. So why don't you write on the chat where you are from, say hello, put a little flag of your country and your institution so that we know which part of the world you are. So to begin with, I would like to invite Ms. Sitembile Momakamba to welcome us and to the opening remark. Thank you.
Thank you, Kantor, and good morning, good afternoon, esteemed colleagues, distinguished guests, partners, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Food, Agriculture and Natural Resources Network, FANAPAN, and our valued partners, it is my great pleasure to warmly welcome you to the Virtual Knowledge Forum on Sustainable Food Systems. We will be together for the next 3 days, so starting today, the 20th, up to the 22nd of May. We are honored to bring together policymakers, researchers, development practitioners, private sector representatives, and farmer organizations. I think Daniel has already given a hello there. Welcome, Daniel, and all the other farmers that are joining us. We are also joined by civil society actors, youth leaders, innovators, and development partners from across Africa and Europe and beyond for this very important engagement. Your presence reflects our shared commitment to advancing sustainable, inclusive, and resilient food systems. This forum is convened under the Strengthening Evidence-Based Policy Practice for Sustainable Food Systems project, also known as StEPPFoS. At its core, the initiative seeks to strengthen the connection between research evidence, policy processes, and practical action. Too often, valuable research remains disconnected from implementation, while policy processes do not always fully benefit from the rich evidence and innovations emerging across our institutions and communities. This forum provides a platform to bridge that gap. Our theme is linking evidence, policy, and action, and it speaks directly to the urgent need for strong collaboration and more responsive policy systems that can address complex challenges facing our agri-food systems today. Across the continent, we continue to confront challenges related to food and nutrition insecurity, climate change, limited market access, financing constraints, unemployment among youth, and inequalities affecting women and vulnerable communities. At the same time, Africa is rich with innovation, knowledge, partnerships, and opportunities that can drive meaningful transformation if effectively coordinated and scaled. Over the next 3 days, we will engage in rich discussions on critical issues shaping the future of food systems, not just in Africa, but globally as well. These include nutrition and food safety, value addition, trade and market access, financing for agriculture, youth and gender inclusion, digital innovation, technology transfer, and climate change adaptation for resilient food systems. A special highlight of this forum will be the virtual innovation exhibition, where innovators, researchers, farmer organizations, and technology developers will showcase practical and scalable solutions that are already making a difference in communities across the continent. These innovations remind us that transformation is not only possible, but already underway. Our collective responsibility is to create the enabling policies, partnerships, and investments needed to support and scale these solutions. So this forum would not be possible without the strong collaboration and partnership of many institutions. We therefore extend our sincere appreciation to our implementing and collaborating partners led by the Forum for Agricultural Research in Africa, FARA, the Association for Strengthening Agricultural Research in Eastern and Central Africa, AZARECA, the West and Central African Council for Agricultural Research and Development, CORAF, and the African Forum for Agricultural Advisory Services, AFAS, the Economic Center for Development Policy and Management, ECDPM, and the Wageningen Research Foundation, together with the many African and European research institutions and stakeholders supporting this initiative. We hope that this forum will strengthen collaboration across sectors and regions, promote evidence-informed policy dialogue, mobilize investment and innovation for sustainable food systems, and contribute towards a stronger alignment of national, regional, continental, and global priorities. Most importantly, we hope the engagements over these 3 days will result in practical recommendations and collective commitments that can help accelerate food systems transformation across Africa. As we begin this important forum, I encourage all participants to engage openly, share experiences generously, and use this platform to build meaningful partnerships that extend beyond this event. The strength of our food systems will depend not only on the quality of our evidence, but also on our willingness to work together and translate knowledge into action. Once again, welcome to the Virtual Knowledge Forum on Sustainable Food Systems. We look forward to the insightful discussions, productive exchanges, and impactful outcomes over the next 3 days. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tembi, for welcoming us. Everyone, we can use the reaction button to, clap, like, be happy, Thank you so much. At this stage, I would like to welcome Dr. Kwaku Antwi, who's going to share with us the StEPPFoS overview. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Kanto, for giving me the floor. And thank you so much, Fanapan, for leading this whole engagement on behalf of the project. We're very much happy to be here. And within the next 5 to 10 minutes, I'll present just an overview of the StEPPFoS project as has been indicated on the program. So I believe I can share my screen. So at this moment, I would share my screen and then proceed to present just an overview of the StEPPFoS project to all. So kindly let me know if you're able to see my screen. Just give me a notification if my screen is visible. Is my screen shown? Okay.
Yes, we can see Dr. Kwaku.
All right. Thank you so much. So, as I said, so my name is Kwaku Antwi. I work at the Forum for Agricultural Research in Africa as a cluster leader for research policy and investments. But under this project, I also work to lead the coordination of the project. So it's my pleasure to be here this morning and to present you just an overview of the StEPPFoS project, and we can have further engagements right after the presentation. So in terms of an outline, I have this. We'll look through the background. Why do we have the StEPPFoS project? And then I'll give a brief overview of it. That is what I'm actually doing. And then we'll look at, under the overview, we'll have the goals, the objectives, then the scope. And then what approach are we using in implementing this project? And then how does the project contribute to evidence-based policies, contribution to innovation, the sustainable food systems in Africa? And then finally, we'll look at the expected outcomes of the project. The outline looks long, but I promise you to do this within the stipulated time. So in terms of the background, I mean, everybody on this call know the issues that Africa is facing as far as our food systems are concerned, in terms of the security of the food, the nutrition aspect of it, and how sustainable our agriculture has been. This is not new to any of us on this call, the issues that are related to our food systems. Beyond that, there are also gaps between policy and real world outcomes. And so you realize that most often than not, policies don't really speak to the issues on the ground that needs attention. And so there's therefore the need for stronger science policy linkage, so that, science or policies are not based or are not implemented in a vacuum, but then based on, scientific evidence and scientific knowledge. And so then there's this need to look at, a mechanism to bridge this gap between science and policy. There's also, of course, the need to ensure or to enhance partnerships between Africa and Europe. And so through this, that is where we can have a common, and share experiences and then share our lessons to enhance food systems across the continent, and hence the StEPPFoS project, or this project. So in terms of the project itself, it's a Horizon Europe project that is funded by the European Commission through the AU-EU, framework. And its focus is to strengthen evidence-based policymaking. I think I've already mentioned that. And this is aimed at ensuring that there's sustainable food systems across both continents. Usually we look at only Africa. Of course, it is so because the issues pertains more on the African continent, but it's about Africa and Europe. So sustainable food systems in both Africa and Europe. It's also intended to build collaboration, of course, between Africa and Europe. And this is also anchored in the PANAP framework. PANAP is the Pan-African Network for Analysis of Economic Policies, and the FNSSA partnership. That's a Food, Nutrition, Security for Sub-Saharan Africa partnership. And there's a partnership between Africa and Europe where the two continents have agreed or have decided to implement mechanisms or roadmaps or different mechanisms to ensure that the sustainable food and nutrition systems across the two continents. So as you can see on the right, we have this project that is to ensure that these, objectives between the two continents are met. And so the project is implemented by 8 main work packages. I've demonstrated on the right side of your screen. We have work package 1 and up to work package 8. Some of the work packages are cross-cutting. But the beauty here is that no work package is independent. The work packages work, in tandem with other work packages to ensure that there's collaboration. So one work package becomes an input to another work package, and then that is how the architecture of the project looks like. So what are the goals? As I've already mentioned, the main goal is to enhance coherence policy. We want to ensure that policy and research speak, not just policy research, but also practice. So here we're looking at the farmers and then the end users of these policies, and then the research outputs that are delivered by research organizations and institutions. So through that, we aim to bridge the gap, between scientific evidence and policy implementation, so that our policies implemented by our governments are not just implemented for being implemented sake, but then they are backed by evidence, they are backed by scientific research, and that makes them to stand the test of time. And so that is what we aimed at, that at the end of the day, we will have, policies backed by strong, scientific evidence. Now, in terms of objectives, so with these goals and aims, the objectives that we seek to achieve under this project, this 4-year project, is to strengthen stakeholder capacities. So here, what we do is we build capacities for researchers, policymakers, civil society, and private sector. The capacities are built around, policy analysis, how to even communicate to policymakers. As a researcher, how do you communicate to policymakers? How do we get to understand the language of the policymakers? So we build capacity around these areas so that we can communicate, we can improve communication between, policymakers and then researchers. The other objective is to enhance science policy interface. I've already spoken about that. The next one is to improve integration of scientific evidence into policy processes, so that, when we generate our results as scientists, as researchers, we don't keep them on the shelf as has always been the case, but then we ensure that the outputs or the outcomes of this research are found in policymaking processes. Researchers are found at the table where policies are being discussed and are being made. So we intend to improve, that environment, or to make that environment friendly for researchers and policymakers to interact. And of course, I've spoken about the PANAP. So through the PANAP, through this project, we seek to expand and strengthen the PANAP network, again, to support economic policy analysis for food systems. In terms of the scope, as I mentioned, the project covers multiple African countries in terms of the implementers. So we are a consortium of about 18 research, academic, private sector institutions that's, are located across Africa and Europe. And so in West Africa, we have these countries. We have them in East Africa, Southern Europe as well. And so these organizations have come together to support continental level policy processes under the AU-EU, cooperation, or that framework that has been provided by. So it's a bi-continental project, by virtue of the implementers and by virtue of what we're doing. And this main event, as we have in currently, is one of the mechanisms that we are using to ensure that the project activities are well implemented and are also known. And so we have the institutions that are implementing or that are rolling out this event, having based in Africa and also in Europe. So in terms of the approach, what do we do? Basically, so we have these 5 main things that we do as far as the project is concerned to implement our actions. So the first one, as I mentioned, is capacity building and training, where we offer opportunities to PANAP members especially, and also to the consortium partners to build their capacities around policy related topics. So policy analysis, M&E for policy, gender in policy, and the rest of it. We also strengthen stakeholder engagement and dialogues. So here we offer, or we create the platform for policy makers and researchers to engage, and farmers and all the important stakeholders to engage. So at major events, for example, the AU-EU Agricultural Ministerial Platform is one of them. The R&I platform that is also created by Africa and Europe is also another platform that we use to engage, and major events of our partners. So, for example, the African Agricultural Science Week by FARA, the FANAPAN major events, the RUFORO major events, and major events of partners. We seek, or we leverage these opportunities to create platforms for engagement. And of course, we also engage in participatory monitoring and evaluation, especially when it comes to policies, so that we can give feedback to policymakers as to how policies can be formulated and implemented to the benefit of the citizenry. And of course, whatever we develop, the knowledge products we develop, the data that we come up with are not kept amongst ourselves as consortium partners, but then we make them available to the general public, or we make them available to those who need them. And so we operate what we call the open science policy. We have our major platforms established where these knowledge products are made available to the public, so that the data can be used and be useful to researchers and to stakeholders who need them. And through that, we have created a lot of platforms. The project itself has a platform where we share this information. We've also created a digital platform where we, apart from sharing this information and storing them, it also provides, an opportunity for exchange between colleagues, between researchers, and between other stakeholders. In terms of our target groups, I believe everybody on this call is actually a target as far as this project is concerned. And so that is why we've gathered here today to look at how we can all work together to improve the food systems on the continent. In the interest of time, I wouldn't go through all the target beneficiaries, but I believe that all of us here would, one way or the other, be a beneficiary of this project. So how do we contribute to evidence-based policies? So I've already talked about strengthening data-driven policy making. So ensuring that we provide support to policy making through our research activities and through the knowledge products that we generate. Enhance economic and impact analysis of policies. So we do this through the capacity building I spoke about. So we've conducted several trainings that look at how do we analyze the impact of economic decisions, or the impact of policies on countries. We can speak of Nigeria, Kenya, and other countries that have been able to make some of these assessments using the tools that we trained our members on. How do we align policies, support coherent and aligned policies? So now, for example, in the African context, we're talking about the CADEP. In the EU context, now we're talking about the Global Gateway. How do we ensure that countries understand these policies and countries are able to align their knives, to reflect or to sit with their knives within these policy frameworks? It is through that you can only get funding to support your activities as a country. And so we support these processes and provide a platform for countries to engage to ensure that their policies are aligned to these frameworks. And of course, we also work to reduce fragmentation across the Africa food systems, policy systems, so that instead of working in silos, we try to bridge the gap and ensure that we are not fragmented, but then we are brought together with a common voice, so that when we speak, policymakers can hear us. How do we contribute to innovation? We contribute to this through policy design and implementation. So we don't, come in or bring stakeholders together in the middle of implementing policies, but then we co-create. We all start the process from the scratch and then move on. We've also leveraged our digital platforms and tools and the knowledge platforms to ensure that these innovations that we come up with are well assessed by major stakeholders. And of course, we also ensure we support research to policy translation. As I mentioned, how do we even translate our research output into languages that policymakers would understand? The other day, somebody was saying enough of the policy briefs. Yes, because now they are aware of policy briefs, and how have we utilized the policy briefs that we've generated out of our research? Is it just producing them and making them available, thinking that the policy maker will pick it and read? Or we need to go beyond the policy briefs and ensure that policymakers really understand what we do. We translate our policies into language that they would understand. Is it by short video? Is it by short clips? Is it by cartoons? Whatever, that would attract policymakers' attention. So these are some of the things that the project also supports. Then in terms of the food systems, the transitions towards sustainable agricultural practices, improved food and nutrition security, resilient agricultural system, aligning everything we do with the FNSSA 10-year roadmap is key, because that is the only way through which we can get the needed support and attention to ensure that our food systems are improved as a continent in that regard. And of course, again, we contribute to the global sustainable food system transformation. So here we're looking at the SDG 2, which talks about the nutrition and talks about the food security and other targets, global targets that we've set for ourselves. So what do we expect at the end of this project? I've tried to put the impact pathway of the project on the right side, but here we want to see that we have a sustainable, food system across the two continents, and this we believe would be achieved through stronger science policy partnerships, improving the effectiveness of policy implementation, enhancing research capacity, and increasing collaboration between the AU and EU. And through these pathways, we'll be able to achieve the expected incomes. I want to thank you for your attention and also to pay tribute to the consortium partners, as you've seen on your screen. These are the 18 partners that are implementing the StEPPFoS project. And those of us who are interested to become members of PANAP, I spoke about PANAP. The link is there. You can pick up. Once you get into this link, you find the membership form, you fill it, and then you go through processes to become a member. What is the good news here for now is that there's no membership fee for now. Currently, we have about 303 members across Africa and Europe. And so if you are interested as an individual or as an institution to become a member of PANAP, you just pick this link, go visit it, and then you fill the form available, and then we would get your information and then engage with you so that you can also become a member of PANAP and enjoy some of these benefits that the project has for us. On that note, I want to thank you very much for your attention, and over to you, Kanto. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kwaku, for that overview of the StEPPFoS project, and also for everyone to join. You have received the link. We might still share it in the chat so that you are able to see that. Also, okay, so today's theme, as you know, is on digital innovation, technology transfer, and climate adaptation for resilient food system. So today is about innovation, technology. So please stay with us. We have some exciting sessions. So to begin with, I would like to invite Joseph Ndondo, who is going to moderate the session, and along with their colleagues, which he will be then facilitating. Over to you.
Greetings, colleagues. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Joseph Ndondo. I'm from Marondera, University of Agricultural Sciences. We are a university based in Zimbabwe, and our focus is in agri-sciences. We aim to provide sustainable technologies and green technologies in the agri-sciences field. My co-presenters are Dr. Emil Mazike from Marondera University, and also Mr. Hamilton Kachairo, also from University. Allow me to share my screen, if you can.
Please go ahead.
I hope you can now see my screen.
Yes, perfect.
Okay. So we are presenting here on harnessing artificial intelligence, AI, for Africa's food future, covering sustainable agri-food systems, AI and smart technologies, and then policy and action. Okay, so Africa is a blessed continent. There's vast land, and much of it is actually arable land. And it's actually estimated that about 65% of Africa's land is actually arable land. And we are also blessed with a very youthful population. More than 60% of Africa's population are young people who are still economically active and are contributing to various fields in economy. But still yet, despite all this potential, we still have our food systems not serving everyone well. We still have a lot of people still undernourished, and we still incur a lot of post-harvest losses that have been estimated to cost around 4.5 billion US dollars in cost. And our cropland and soils needs restoration. So some of the pressures on our food systems are emanating from multi-faceted issues. For example, climate variability. You may want to know that our agricultural systems, they contribute roughly about 23% greenhouse gas emissions. And this has rapidly led to changing rainfall patterns, droughts, hunger, and so forth. It's estimated that there's going to be a crop reduction of about 8% by the year 2050. And by that year, the population growth of Africa would have doubled from 1.5 to 2.5 billion. And this means there's going to be a lot of pressure on resources, high demand for food, high demand for land, and so forth. So if Africa is not able to feed 1.5 billion people today, what about in 2050 when the population gets to 2.5 billion? Other issues include issues to do with food security and hunger. We see a lot of people, about 733 million people, still suffer from hunger. And we see a lot of people still undernourished, suffering from malnutrition. So these are quite a lot of issues that are exerting pressure on our agri-food systems. Despite the sort of negative picture that we have, there's a window of opportunity that is being presented by emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence. And these technologies are promising to revolutionize and improve production systems. They are promising to improve nutrition and health, food safety and quality, and also value addition. When it comes to production systems, particular technologies that are emerging are the IoT or Internet of Things soil sensors that are being used to deliver real-time pH, moisture, and nutrient data, providing this important information to farmers. And this information can then be used to optimize and rationalize application of nutrients, irrigation, or fertilizers to the plants. In short, we are now able to supply only that is needed by the plant. Other technologies that are emerging include computer vision and drone imaging. These technologies are being used in early plant disease detection and also pest detection. AI is enabling use of imagery data or visual data from plants to identify certain diseases before they become a disaster in fields. Smart irrigation systems equipped with sensors are helping to measure moisture content of soils so that the irrigation systems only supply the moisture when it is required and in the appropriate amounts. When it comes to food safety, it is an issue that is ravaging the African continent. It is estimated that about 130,000 people die every year due to foodborne diseases or foodborne illnesses. AI is bringing enough power to detect food contamination. For example, AI-powered near-infrared spectroscopy is being used to detect mycotoxin contamination in maize, groundnuts, and other grains. Mycotoxin contamination is a serious health hazard which has led to health issues like cancer and so forth. Computer vision tools are also enabling value addition of crops, in terms of sorting, grain, packaging, and so forth. And then AI-linked blockchain technologies are being used to improve food traceability and food tracking systems. When it comes to nutrition, AI tools are now being used to develop or design personalized nutrition diets. We must understand that different people differ in terms of nutritional needs, they differ in terms of genetics, they differ in terms of health condition. What this means is that a diet which is needed by one person is obviously different from a diet which is needed by the next person in your room. AI is enabling the personalization of these diets so that diets are personalized or individualized according to the condition of each and every person. We see also tools like generative AI tools, which are being used to forecast demand, helping farmers to plant crops when they are only viable or when they can have a market in future. Farmers can no longer just plant with the hope that they'll find a market in the future, but they plant crops with insights of market data. In this slide, you see a summary of some of the technologies that are being used in precision agriculture. Precision agriculture, it's an advanced agricultural system that involves use of sensors, IoT devices that are able to detect various conditions of plant and soil conditions. With this data, it is now possible to apply irrigation or to apply fertilizers or to apply pesticides at the right amounts and at the right moment based on data supplied by these sensors. When it comes to animal management or animal husbandry, some IoT sensors are being used to record temperature of a cattle or a sheep or a goat, providing insights to the farmer about the animal health and so forth. My colleague will now take you over in the next part where they will be highlighting how some of these technologies are being deployed on the African continent. I thank you.
Thank you very much. We welcome your colleague, and also if you can see the timer there, this is your time left. Thank you.
Good morning to you all. Good morning to you all. I will now take you. I will now take you through what is happening in Africa. Africa is already doing AI and already using AI tools to assist with agriculture. And I'll give specific examples of how it is already being used. In Malawi, AI chatbots have already been launched, and thousands of smallholder farmers are now receiving real-time, region-specific agronomic advice so that their crops are not just being given blanket recommendations, but they can get specific to their crop so that they can optimize their yield. 8 countries in sub-Saharan Africa are also part of AI for Agriculture and Food Systems Network. And in this network, they are able to diagnose pests and diseases in such crops as cashew, maize, and cassava, and tomatoes. And this has been verified over 8 countries. In South Africa, they are also using the indigenous knowledge systems, which have been working in the past, but now they are being combined with AI so that they can be able to forecast the weather and to tell when it's going to rain, when there's going to be drought. This actually is very important because you want to know when to plant, when to harvest, and when to add fertilizer so that you can get the rain. So this forecasting is very important to a farmer. In Zimbabwe and in Kenya, there is what we call Plant Village for extension workers. Mobile crop diagnosis is being integrated with national extension systems so that farmers are able to get information and also to diagnose their crops so that they can optimize their yields. And in Zimbabwe, AI-powered grain silos are also being used, integrated with Internet of Things, sensors, remote and monitoring. This is important because as we have seen that 4.5 billion is being lost in post-harvest losses. So we need to monitor grain silos so that we see hotspots, we see rising moisture. This causes food safety issues and also causes post-harvest loss. So this will be important in closing some of those gaps, such as post-harvest losses. The policy opportunity. The technology is now ready and the policy window is now open. And some of the issues where we can improve, where policy can make the difference by using leverage, we can establish AI standards for agri-food systems across Africa. This means we can use AI tools to validate and see how we can adopt the precision agriculture methods such as soil management, food safety, and market data across the borders. We can also bring agri-food applications into national AI strategies. As we speak right now, more than 16 African countries have national AI strategies, and also many African governments are already developing AI strategies. However, in the published AI strategies, food systems is not being made a priority. So we are recommending that for all AI strategies for countries across Africa, food systems be also made a priority so that we can integrate food systems with AI, and this will optimize our production. We also need to expand AI for agriculture financing to reach smallholder farmers. We are saying smallholder farmers are very important in the production of food, and they need to be capacitated so that by use of AI, they can improve their yield, they can reduce their production cost, they can find markets so that the gaps of food insecurity can be closed. We also need to establish farmer data governance frameworks proactively so that the data that is obtained from these studies can be used responsibly. So I will now hand over to my colleague for policy recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Moving on, we now discuss about policy recommendations. Now, it's a fact that Africa already has a strong policy architecture. We can talk of the Africa Union Digital Transformation Strategy, which is 2020 to 2030. We can talk, of course, of Africa Union Digital Agriculture Strategy, 2023 to 2030. Of course, Africa has a lot of frameworks, but however, according to Ndlovu, the key challenge has to do with implementation, specifically translating well-designed frameworks into measurable field-level outcomes, especially for smallholder farmers. So these are our recommendations. Number one, we are recommending that Africa Union Digital Transformation Strategy, which of course aims to bridge the digital infrastructure gap and build inclusive digital skills and foster agri-tech ecosystems. Maybe if it can be implemented not just in silos in the member states of Africa, but if it can be implemented systematically, it can help us to achieve the Agenda 2063, which we want, the Africa that we want. More so, Africa Union Digital Agriculture Strategy, of course, it embeds digital tools across soil mapping, seed systems, and extension services. We are also recommending or encouraging the interoperability of data ecosystems and open governance. I like the point that was alluded to by Dr. Kwaku. We need to have data which we can train so that we can have Afrocentric solutions. Also, when it comes to AFCFTA, digital protocol, and Smart Africa Agri Blueprint, we may also need to implement everything that have been agreed. I may refer the audience to last year in April in Kigali, Rwanda, where we have Global AI Summit on Africa. There are a lot of issues that have been discussed there, but when it comes to implementing, some of them, they are yet to be implemented. Therefore, we are recommending policies that can guide Africa to implement everything that have been discussed there. When it comes to national platforms, we can talk of Kenya, Zambia, Tanzania, Ghana, Nigeria, just to name a few. Yes, we have a lot of digital platforms like DigFarm, eVoucher, Kulima. Yes, these platforms we have, and we have proven that they are working, like, for example, Hello Tractor, but we still have some countries who are yet to implement or try these solutions, which we have confidence they are working elsewhere. So we are recommending that rather than implementing in silos, what if we have policies which can guide us and help us to implement them systematically? We can move on to the next slide. Now, building on existing frameworks, which I have mentioned, how then can we close these gaps? How then can we implement strategically and systematically to close those gaps? Yes, if I may take you back, Law 2026 finds some implementation gaps, which includes, of course, poor infrastructure. We can talk of connectivity and power challenges, high cost of data and devices, low digital literacy, especially women, weak policy accountability mechanisms, siloed governance across ministries, policies designed without local actors. So, to my right, these are our recommendations, starting from Africa Union Commission, governments, development finance, research institutions, civil society. In our humble submission, we think if we can be able to implement these recommendations or to take them into effect, perhaps they can help us to achieve the Africa that we want in line with Agenda 2063 of Africa. Thank you so much, and we'll be happy to take any questions, comments, and suggestions. I will hand over the floor to our moderator.
Thank you very much. Thank you to you guys for this wonderful presentation. And I believe that our youth, those interested, in technology are taking notes and might be willing to work with you and know more. So without further ado, I'm going to ask CIP. We're going to our innovation exhibition where we're going to have Dr. Evelyn Kiyu on climate and digital solutions, and with her contributors, Mary Mwagi, Jeru Mukami, and Agnes Muhaki. The floor is yours. I'm gonna reset the timing for everyone. Thank you. If you have any question for our presenters, kindly share that in the chat. They might be able to respond to you directly, or if you still have time for them to respond. So please write your questions, and if you want contact and everything, you can continue the discussion on the chat. Over to you, Evelyn.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And good afternoon from Nairobi, Kenya. Partners and colleagues, it's my pleasure to welcome you to our virtual exhibition where we'll be showcasing biotechnology-related innovations that are led and supported by the International Potato Center. My name is Evelyn Kehio, as mentioned. I'm an agricultural economist based here in Nairobi, Kenya. And for this session, I'm joined by my colleagues, Mary Mwangi, Assunta Mokami, and Agnes Mwihaki. So I would request, yeah, they're all there. So if I can be given rights to share my presentation.
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. A minute. So you can see the presentations?
Still loading?
See my
Yes, yes,
screen?
we can see it.
Okay.
Yes, perfect.
Yeah. So briefly, I will first introduce our institution. And the International Potato Center is a research for development organization established in 1971, and it is part of the CGR system. Our global mandate focuses on potato, sweet potato, and the Adrian roots and tubers. So we have our headquarters located at Lima, Peru, and SIP works across various regions, that is Africa, Asia, and Latin America, to develop science-based solutions that are important for purposes of improving food security, nutrition, incomes, and livelihoods, as well as resilient food systems in these regions. So next, I show our global presence, and this spans across multiple regions, as I said. And this helps us to respond to local challenges while contributing to the global public goods. And in all these regions, we have strong partnerships at both country, regional, and global levels. And this is how SIP is able to diversify its impact. So at the center of SIP's work, we work with potato and sweet potato. And you can see the importance of these crops, both globally, but also in Africa. And the crops are not only important for food, but also provide income, employment, and resilience for many rural households. The sweet potato and potatoes have been shown to be resilient even with the changing or the extreme climate conditions. And when pests and diseases affect these crops, the impacts then also go beyond yield losses. As we said, the importance of the crops to include higher costs of managing these diseases and pests, reduced incomes, and also increased food insecurity. So quickly, SIP's current strategies are organized around 4 science goals. So we have the first one is on biodiversity, and biodiversity focuses on conserving the genetic diversity of root and tuber crops, both in gene banks and also in farmer fields. The next goal is on regenerative agriculture, which focuses on improving productivity while protecting soils and ecosystems. The other goal is on urban food systems. Here, SIP works to improve on the efficiency, safety, and diversity of root and tuber crops production, and also their marketing in urban and peri-urban areas. The last one, which will also be the focus of our presentation today, is on crop improvement. And under crop improvement, we aim to develop and also deliver improved root and tuber crop varieties that meet farmer and consumer needs. So while still focusing on the goals, these cut across various efforts, that is capacity strengthening, partnerships, and also gender considerations. So as I mentioned, today's focus is on crop improvement. And here we will look at how biotechnology can support the development of potato innovations that respond to major diseases, challenging farmers, especially with the changing climate effects. So maybe just briefly, biotechnology can simply be understood as the use of modern scientific tools to help crops carry useful traits, such as stronger resistance to diseases and also to withstand diverse climate conditions. These tools are used alongside conventional breeding, seed systems, agronomy, and farmer engagement, and also regulatory processes. So the goal of biotechnology is not only to produce scientific results in the labs, but also to support innovations that can eventually reach farmers in safe, practical, and useful ways. So one important area of SIP's biotechnology work is on late blight resistant potato. Late blight for the potato farmers is one of the most serious diseases affecting potato production, as you can see from the numbers there. It can destroy harvests, increases production costs when farmers are trying to manage it, and also force farmers to rely heavily on fungicides, which would have effects on the environment, but also the health effects. So for smallholder farmers, this means higher costs trying to manage the effects, greater risks, and lower returns. So how SIP has a response to this is it seeks to support farmer by coming up with potato varieties that can better withstand late blight, reduce losses, and contribute more stable production and improved welfare of the farmers. So here we show that the innovation is built for impact. So the work on the late blight, for instance, it's shown that it seeks to support varieties right from testing to evidence regulation to seed multiplication and farmer access. So, and on the extreme right of my slide, I show what the farmer trials have shown in Kenya, Rwanda, Nigeria, and Uganda. So we focus on the work that we have done in Africa. And the results have shown that the conventional varieties compared to the varieties that we have incorporated with the genes that are resistant to the diseases, that these varieties have been able to be resistant to the diseases that are affecting the conventional varieties, as can be seen from the pictures. The areas that are showing clear, these are where the conventional varieties had been planted, but you can see the varieties that SIP have come up with have been able to withstand the harsh conditions that are brought about, that bring about the late blight disease, for instance. However, so I've just shown about late blight, but late blight innovation is not the only pathway that SIP biotechnology seeks to help farmers, but we also have, our work goes beyond this. We have work on bacteria wilt resistance, potato virus resistance, and also gene editing. And to help us take us through this, I will invite my colleagues, and the session today is special in that we will hear from three exceptional scientists, young ladies, who are contributing directly to this agenda. And with this, I'm happy to invite our first presenter, who will be Assunta Mukami.
Thank you, Ifrin. Hi, everyone. Welcome to my presentation. And as Ifrin has said, is that we're not only dealing with Net Bright, but we're trying to answer so many problems that we're facing as Africa and as the world. Why do we focus on potato, for instance? It's because potato is an important crop. That's the answer. And why is it important? Because it is a global food security crop. As we know that potato can be prepared into many different types of foods. You can mash it, and this happens mostly here in Kenya. You can mix it with other foods, preparing soup for different foods. You can fry it. You can also prepare what we call the crisps, and that can be sold in supermarket, and they're storable for they have long shelf life. And the most interesting part is that you can sell, so it is a source of income, and this is a good thing to farmers. Next. Production of potato, however, is affected by so many things, including diseases, as well as the climate change, which could be drought or floods. Some of the diseases, just as my colleague has mentioned, is red blight, which we've tried to answer and try to solve that problem, and we've already done that. And the other diseases include red blight. My colleague will talk about this. It is also answered. And currently, we're working with the viral diseases, the PVY, to try and solve this problem. Other problems include drought and worms like nematode, which in general, these problems bring about low income, food shortage, high prices, and malnutrition to the people that depend on potato as source of food. Next. Some of the solutions or what farmers do to try and solve these problems, they will buy sprays or pesticides to try and kill the disease-causing worms or pests. But unfortunately, the pesticides are expensive to farmers, and we know the status of Africa. The income is low, or maybe the farmers, they don't have money to do that. And we need a long-lasting solution to this. So it's a challenge because of the income. Number two, it is also a challenge because it is a source of pollution to the environment, though it is somehow a solution to them. Another alternative is doing crop rotation, which is also good. However, the farms are limited, so it's also a challenge to have you doing the rotation of the crops until when you get to farm your potato. And we have limited sizes of farms. Another thing that the farmers do is to uproot the diseased crops or the plant and try to control the spread of the disease, which is also okay. But how much time do you need? How effective is this method? Another thing is using certified seeds, and we know Africans, we know Kenyans, we know people from all other parts of Africa. They will not go for these seeds, especially if they cannot be able to buy them. They would prefer to plant what they planted the last season. And for this, they now start rotating or making a chain of disease in their farms, which now is a problem in Africa. And that's why we would have a long-lasting solution by providing a disease-resistant potato variety. Next. So what do we do as scientists? We know that what you observe in a plant is not just a plant, but a communication from in the plant, just like a human being. When I see you brown, I will not just conclude you're brown, but I know there is something in you that is making you brown. So when I see you black, equally, when I see you tall, equally, that's what happens in plant. So there is an information which we call now the genes, which is in the DNA. And this information is what is translated, or it is interpreted to give what we can see, including what we cannot see. That's why when you see the plant with different flowers, it's a communication from within that plant. And this gives different flowers, different sizes of potato. And this is the information that a scientist is interested in. So what we do is that we go for that information that gives us the information that is telling us this plant is resistant to the disease or it is susceptible, and try to modify or to change it. Next. So this slide generally simplifies what I've said. Within the plant, you get the information that is communicating what is happening to the plant that you can see. So if I see a plant dying or some variety dying when I plant them and they are getting diseases, that means there is something within them that is making them not to be able to withstand that disease. And we call that susceptibility. So they have information which is making them susceptible, meaning they have susceptible genes. So as a scientist, I will go for that susceptible gene and try to end it, try to change it so that the plant become resistant. Currently, we are working with the viral disease, trying to improve potato for virus resistance. And these are some of the symptoms that you can see in your farm when the plant has the PVY disease. As the leaves become yellow, they have stunted growth, so they grow slowly. The tubers have spots or rings, and there is losing of chlorophyll, and the plant now eventually, or the tubers, they become unmarketable and unpalatable. Next. So what we do is, next. No, before that. So we have identified this information at SIP, and that is what we are working on using a technology we call gene editing, which is essentially making some few changes in this information to improve the potato variety Shangi, which is a farmer preferred variety in Kenya and also in Rwanda, and making it resistant to this virus. And we are using this technology called gene editing. So we've identified that information that you can see in a few slides, chemical formulas there. And that gene is what we are targeting to try and improve the potato for viral resistance. Thank you. We continue to the next slide. So essentially what we are doing is that we target to use a cell. You know, the human body or organism body is made from one cell. Just one cell, you can get a whole organism. So what we do is that we get that one cell using a method of protoplast isolation. Protoplast is just a cell. And then using the gene editing technology, we take the tools that will change the information that I've shown from the previous slide. And then from that cell that we've already made the changes, we try to multiply it and make it grow into a plant. So what happens is that this cell divided, it forms a callus, which we call mass of cells that have not shown shooting and they have not shown rooting, but through use of hormones, you can make them to shoot and to root. And at the moment, we're making, or we're trying to ensure that the colors that we have now is about to shoot, the picture or the photo number 6. We are in a good progress with this. Next.
Yeah. So Mukami, just maybe wind up in the next 1 minute for the others because of time.
Okay, thank you. So the overall benefit of this project is that it will benefit both the farmers, the consumers, and the environment, because we know the food affect everyone, from the producers to the consumers and the entire environment. So the farmers will have higher yield, the consumers will have better quality food, and the environment will be free of pesticide pollution. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I will ask Mary to briefly take us through the other aspect.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mary Mwangi. I'm also a researcher at the International Potato Center. Next slide, please. Today, I want to talk to you about a climate-smart potato, which we are developing in my lab. So, as we all know, with global warming, the weather is becoming hotter. As my colleague has said, the seeds are not good that the farmers plant, and farmers keep on recycling them. So one disease that has come into play after late blight has been bacterial disease. This is caused by a bacteria, which is normally found in the soil. So you can imagine once the weather changes, it survives on high temperature. So it causes this kind of symptoms where the plant will just basically wilt, and you can see this kind of seed, the farmer cannot even sell them and also plant them for the next season. So in my lab, in my team, we are trying to develop a potato that's resistant to this disease. So I'm gonna show you a case study. Next slide, please. This is a case study we have done assays in the lab showing how by using that information Assunta has said, using resistant genes, we put them in potatoes, and these are potatoes that farmers prefer. And with that, we have seen promising results. So what do we want to achieve with this? Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay. So with this climate smart biotech potato, we plan to increase farmers' yield by reducing their yield losses due to the disease. We want to improve their seed quality so that they can make money by selling quality seed and good-looking seeds. And we also, with this, we are going to tackle a major challenge that happens in the potato industry. This is the latent infection. This is where the disease remains in the seed, and when the farmer uses the seed for the next season, the plants, they lose their whole crop. So that's what we plan to do with this biotechnology.
Thank you, Mary. And lastly, but not least, we'll have Agnes, who will tell us how the varieties get to the farmers. Agnes, you're muted.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Agnes Muhaki, working as a researcher at SIP. And today we'll be discussing how we can scale tissue culture for sustainable potato systems. Sustainable potato production is being faced by a challenge associated with repeated use of farmer-saved seeds, which results into disease accumulation, which further contributes to weaker crops, lowering the yields and reducing the farmer income. As you can see on the right of your screen, the bar shows the productivity gap between, which is contributed by the seed quality. And the farmer saved seed yields 5 to 12 tons per hectare, and comparing this to certified clean seeds, which could have a higher potential of yielding 15 to 25 tons per hectare. To address this challenge, a very effective tool is needed to increase the access of certified planting materials and clean planting materials. One of the most effective biotechnology tool that can be used to address the challenge is tissue culture, which enables rapid multiplication of clean planting materials, which accelerates the access of certified and clean planting materials to the farmers. The next slide, please. This process begins by introduction of explants into tissue culture under controlled laboratory conditions, which are then acclimatized and then transferred to the screen houses for multiplication. Multiplication in the screen houses can take place through two pathways. One could be the conventional seed tuber pathway, where we get the mini tubers and which are certified seeds and clean planting materials, which are then taken to the farmers and seed growers. And we can also use the apical rooted cuttings pathway, which produces more planting materials and in a faster way, which are then taken to the farmers and maybe seed growers for multiplication. Next. Beyond rapid multiplication of these clean planting materials, the system contributes to increased productivity by increasing the higher yields. It also contributes to food security since we get stable potato production, and it also helps in supporting farmer livelihoods and also promotes accessing resilient varieties to the farmers. Thank you. Back to you, Evelyn.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you all. And back to Farah.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Team International Potato Center, for showcasing that biotechnology innovations on a late blight-resistant potatoes. Without further ado, we are going to invite now our team for climate resilient production system. We're going to hear from the Agricultural Research Council, ARC. I'm going to invite Dr. Mary Jane Chimuka, who is going to share with us innovative aquaponics system. Thank you.
I don't know, in South Africa, we have a big problem where around where I go, where I live, there's no place for any more agriculture, but it has already been said that we need to feed many people. The population is increasing. So we need to come up as researchers with innovations and means that will take no land in South Africa because, like I said, there's no space. And also where I live in Gauteng, it's a urban area and there's no place. So what we are proposing here as Agricultural Research Council, but like I say, is a project that is funded by Department of Rural Development, Land Reform, Science, Technology and Innovation. And also there is a commercial farmer who is doing aquaponics. So it's really a lot of people that contributed. So what I'm presenting is expandable aquaponics system as a case study in climate smart, inclusive and resilient production. And the introduction of aquaponics. Aquaponics is a combination of fish farming, aquaculture, and a soilless production system of hydroponics. It can be a closed system, a closed loop. You can have aquaculture, which is farming of fish and other water bodies. Because if you go to the sea, you will fish. But if you go to the river, but later on, because of now climate problems, there's no more fish. Now what we do, we need to farm with fish. So that is aquaculture. But aquaculture so far has, although it has been shown in the world that it's a fast growing compared to other animal production systems. But the problem is that in South Africa, we have a problem of water and we have no rainfall and we have high evaporation system. So now what we do, you can have aquaponics, and then what I'm going to present is a closed loop. It means that it's a circulating system where water comes from the hydroponic system back to the fish, and then the fish need clean water. If you were doing aquaculture alone, you would have waste that is accumulated in the fish, and then you will need the filters that are very expensive, and then you will have to remove that waste and uneaten feed. So it's a sustainable way where you do a closed loop because there's water efficiency. The only water that it's through evaporation, but it can be added into the system. So like I've said already about aquaculture and aquaponics, but what we have seen now in the world is that although this is such a beautiful climate smart agriculture, many aquaponics have failed. And what we did research with a commercial farmer, and there's even a student, I'm sure he's sitting here, who's trying to do and look at aquaponic systems in South Africa. There's poor design of systems. There's inadequate filtration, as I said, we have found out in this. That is the main part. Incorrect scaling, lack of technical training. There's also water scarcity and climate, as I said, and of course, food security. That food insecurity, as we know in South Africa, I don't know in other countries, but there's really food insecurity is becoming big. And in this project also, we looked at that. So the solution is expandable aquaponic system, is a module of expandable system design. It maintains biological balance at every stage. It's user-friendly for beginners. You can start it small. You will see how I show you. For small scale, you design it, and it can be in a local condition in South Africa. It can be in 24 hours, and it can work also all seasons. And it combines efficiency, sustainability, and scalability, this system that I'm going to talk about. So the purpose of this, it was a case study to ensure year-round food, promote entrepreneurship and skills development, improve climate resilience and water efficiency, support sustainable system performance, enhance income generation and employment. So this is the system that we are using, and like I say, it's a combination of where we are working with a commercial farmer who is a aquaponic engineer who has done the system, is farming commercially. So if you look, the components of this aquaponic system is that it has got a fish dam here, and this is the I'll talk about it. It's expandable. It has got a flood and drain system where you put flood and drain. It means that you will have stones, if I can say in layman, and then the water will come in and go out, but I will explain. Then you will have also the DVC, deep water system draft here, but then you will have a filtration system, which is very important. And in that filtration system, I will show you there are 3 components of the filtration system, where you need to have the first one where you take the bigger particles, you separate them from the fish tank, and then the smaller particles, and also the bigger part, which is important for aquaponics, which is the biological filter. So in this system, in this expandable system, I'm trying to in this expandable system, you will see here when we were rolling the system that, you have got the fish tank, and literally it's very easy to transport because you can see here that it's just a thing like that, and then it's put together. So what you can do in this fish, you can have 37 kilograms of fish can grow there. But what you can do later on, you can expand it, second ring, the same size of ring, and then you will have another 37. Then the third ring, you have another 37 kilograms, and then you end up with 111 kilograms of fish. So you can see it when it's finished now here, where some of our beneficiaries are already using it. Now, this system also, as I said, it has got a filtration system, which has got 3 parts, 1, 2, 3, and this is how it is built. It has got a swill, large solids, then there's a mechanical filter, fine solids, and there's a biofilter where the magic takes place. Ammonia from the fish and the food that is not eaten, it's the first bacteria turned ammonia into nitrite, and then the second part of bacteria turns nitrite into nitrate. The other part here is the flat and drain system. You will see it's where you will put some media, the sand that you will put, but then it's a flat and drain system. As I say, the water comes out to flush the water so that there's no the vegetables don't get rotten. It goes away and the roots won't get rotten. And yeah, so there is a mechanism as the water comes in and then it also goes out and then it's circulated. Now the next one is the DVC one that I showed you earlier. You will remember that one. In this DVC system here, what it does is that it can take up to 92 plants, and it also acts as because in the DVC there's water falling down from here, so it also aerates the system. So then there's aeration that is coming. Sorry for me. And then it also acts as a sump, because you need to have sump. What is a sump? Is a place where you have enough water that will circulate in case the water has gone into the system, that the fish tank doesn't become empty. So it's really a 3-in-1. And there's also energy efficiency, because in other aquaponic system you need to aerate, but here it acts as all-in-one. You can see the full system automated. It has a camera. This is energy because we use solar. So there is a camera that the farmer can see the fish. We take temperature, and you can see the battery system, and you can see the tunnel, and you can see how the solar is connected to the system outside, how it stays. It reduces energy cost because we use solar, especially in South Africa where we had a lot of load shedding. So now I'll show you this expandable system. The main part is to food security, also skills transfer for the beneficiaries, also to make them the enterprises to grow as it's expandable. You will see we gave them the first part, but they are able to get more funding and get the other parts. So now what we did in this project in December last year, we implemented 4 projects. We are supposed to implement by the end of December 6. So there are 2 more projects. So 4 aquaponic systems were implemented, whatever. And then there were 2 in Gauteng provinces, and there was 2 in KwaZulu-Natal. The activities that took place there is that first we got fish, fingerlings, supply and transportation. And then what we did is that there was a video on the previous slide. Okay, let me go. The person, okay, sorry. Let me there's a video here.
Sorry, is an expandable aquaponic system that consists of 4 main components working together in one continuous cycle. We start by feeding the fish in the tank. As they eat, they produce waste, which releases ammonia into the water. This ammonia-rich water is then pumped into a filtration system. The filter system has 3 main components. The first component is the swim filter, which removes larger solid waste from the water. Next is the mechanical filter, which uses fine sieve-like screen to trap smaller solids, preventing them from reaching the biological filter. The next component is the biological filter. This is where the magic happens. It contains biomedia, often called bioballs, which provide a large surface area for beneficial bacteria to grow. If we were to look closely under a microscope, we would find trillions of these beneficial bacteria. These bacteria convert toxic ammonia into nitrites and then into nitrates, a form of nutrients the plants can absorb easily. Once the water is clean and nutrient-rich, it is directed into the gravel media bed. This is part of the flood and drain system, where plants are grown without soil, while still allowing water and oxygen to circulate freely. The bed is periodically flooded with nutrient-rich water and then drained using a belt siphon. The drained water then goes into the deep water culture, where plants are continuously suspended in nutrient-rich water. As you can see, there is no soil here, just nutrient-rich water, and that is all the plants need to grow. Finally, the water returns to the fish tank, completing the cycle. And in the end, everything is recycled to keep the system balanced and sustainable. What begins as fish waste is naturally transformed into essential plant nutrients, creating a closed, efficient, and highly sustainable aquaponic system.
Okay. You see, the team was showing me, I skipped some other parts. Okay, so the project was implemented in four projects have already been rolled out, 2 in KZN and 2 in Gauteng. And the system was set up, as I showed you, farmer training took place. We had a study group. Actually, we included other people because this project started as a feasibility study. There were farmers that didn't get the system, but we wanted them to also know about aquaponics, even if they can do their DIY. So we trained in the whole of South Africa. We had weekly trainings that we had where we told them about aquaponics. We told them about this system, but also what we did is that we also taught them how to do simple aquaponic system, not as this one. This one specifically is a model for entrepreneurs, but they can also start small. So there was also labor employment. This here in this picture, you will see how we got 440 tilapia fish, and we transported some from, we bought it in KZN. There were 25 mortalities, but 92% survival in KwaZulu-Natal. Also, there were no mortalities because it was 100%, it was within the same area. You will see in the picture here, this is one farm where we even have a transportation tank, but we couldn't, because we had 2 farms, we couldn't use that because we needed to separate the fish. But the first time we had, you can see students and the farmers taking place. And here you can see how the project took place. And here what happened is that now the early performance of the system, you can see now the system is ready, and there was successful planting of vegetables and herbs. There is lettuce here that you can see in the picture in KZN, and there was a natural fry, fish, tilapia fry. And what happened is that there was stable water condition and the fish was quite very healthy. You will hear a testimony of the fish, and there was active nutrient cycling. You can see here they growed lettuce, and I think at this moment some of them are in the 3rd cycle, because 90% of product of income, 70%, sorry, comes from the vegetables, which will come every month or more, depending on how mature is your system. But now the other 30% will be fish, and you will hear how long it took fish, but the vegetables, they are every month. And here what we did also, although we had 4 farms in 2 farms, because there were 2 funders, rural development, they wanted us to employ youth. You can see the youth, I think some of them are listening in the 2 farms. we had to do casual labor of the youth in the Department of Science and Technology in KZN. It wasn't part of the project. We trained them. There were 12 casual labors. Farmers were trained, like I say, in water quality, system operation, and record keeping. And you can see here hands-on training where the farmers were doing water quality here on this side. And then there was also in this weekly training, it was very interesting because they had to share experience, what they are doing. So there was a knowledge sharing. Because the farmers that we chose, I didn't want to go through there. There was a system how we took them SWOT analysis. Some of them were very strong in vegetables, some in fish, but now they had to share. It was a very beautiful, knowledge sharing. I need to, okay, you will listen here. So we had successfully distributed 440 fish, 12 jobs, evidence of sustainable systems, improve food production capacity. In summary, you can listen to the testimony of one of the farmers here. Listen.
Look at the result of you trusting us, especially in KZN. Look at this fish. I don't believe you now. I'm shaking. I'm shaking. I've never seen this in my life. Look at the fish. This is less than 5 months. All the instructions that you give us, we've been following it. Everything. The weight, the food, the temperature, everything. Look at the fish. Look at the fish, though. I don't believe it now. We have managed to collect more than 10,000 fingerlings. Literally more than. Even if I cannot give it exactly because it's difficult to count these fingerlings, but more or less, we used to always tell my guy here to count it at least. Today, look at this fish here. So I've transferred this fish into other ponds because I've got the other ponds now. Then I put another fish here. It's unbelievable.
Okay, so you had the testimony of this excited farmer who was a fish farmer before. Now he has now big fish in 6 months. He has ponds, but this went so fast that he got shocked, and now he's even growing the vegetables. Okay, let's see the next one. So in conclusion, you will see that now, actually, like I say, some of the farmers are going into the third cycle of the vegetables, and you can see they were selling their lettuce here, and you can see they've also grown other vegetables. And we had, for example, there was lettuce, spinach, and then there was also, of course, the fish, what they harvested from January to April in the records, the spinach. In the first cycle, it took longer, I think 5 weeks, but because now the system was mature, the bacteria was enough, it's taking a shorter time. And you can see here they have harvested, now they are selling. And yeah, so thank you very much. Yeah, that's the aquaponics, expandable aquaponics system. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chimuka, for that presentation. Despite the timing and the technical issues, you made it on time with this smiling fish, waiting for those who are interested in aquaponics. You have seen the testimonies, and if for you want to be an entrepreneur, this is a good opportunity. Thank you very much. Now I'm inviting Candice Kurtz Kabongo from Solidaridad, who is going to share with us on scaling digital ecosystem for food systems transformation. So I'm going to reset the time again and give the floor to you. Over to you, Candice. Is Candice here? Okay,
Hi.
she said she can. Okay.
Mute now. Thank you. Let me see if I can share. Okay. Okay, perfect. Thank you very much, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm very happy to be talking to you today. I'm going to be sharing our experiences that we've had through digitizing the cotton markets in Malawi, using a platform we've developed called COTMIS, which is the Cotton Management Information System. So yeah, I'm very happy to be talking to you today. I think from the discussions we've had so far, it's really looking at the different components to agriculture. But I think that market systems are also a critical piece to allow for sustainability across the whole value chain. So I think to begin with, let's look at what an open data ecosystem is. And fundamentally, this is the ability to share, access, and reuse data securely across different organizations and systems, which is the model that we've used. And there are three key components to this. Firstly, we have the secured identities. Then next, we have electronic payments. And critically, the data exchange layer to this process as well. So I think now that we have a framework, we're going to dive into the deployment of COTMIS within the Malawi cotton sector. And I think it's important just to highlight firstly that cotton is a strategic crop for Malawi as a country. As part of the Malawi Vision 2063, and specifically because of its high potential for foreign exchange earning. But I think also just at a farmer level, cotton has performed better than a lot of other crops given the varying climate conditions. So with that said, I want to paint a picture in terms of the landscape, so you understand who the different stakeholders are and their roles within the system. Obviously, the first stakeholder is the small-scale farmer. In Malawi, plot sizes are very small, so we find that farmers are typically planting on 2 or 3 acres of land annually. Then we have the GINAs. So the GINAs are the cotton off-takers. They buy the cotton and they process that for either export or to produce, local production. So GINAs are the market. And so what happens during a marketing season is that GINAs would then hire casual labor to go out into these various markets. This is a national project. And so they would hire casual labor to go into these markets to do the buying of cotton. Solidaridad network, we are a CSO. So in other projects, we typically work in the space of providing technical advisory to farmers on good agricultural practices, etc. But in this particular project, we were the technology partner. Then we also have the Cotton Farmers Association, obviously to represent the voice of cotton farmers. And then our very important partner is the Cotton Council of Malawi, which is the regulating authority for the sector. And then also financial institutions, because this is how farmers get paid. So I want to walk you through what the untransformed system was prior to the deployment of COTMIS, so that you can understand what the farmer's journey is through the system and also some of the bottlenecks and challenges that were experienced. So if we start first with the farmer arriving at the market, The first thing that needs to happen is that the farmer needs to hire an ox cart to transport his cotton. These bags are really big and heavy, and so that's a significant cost for the farmer. Sometimes when the market is too busy, not all the farmers can be processed, and so you find that farmers are sleeping at the market to be able to protect their cotton, waiting for it to be processed the following day. Obviously, that's not an ideal situation. So once the farmer has arrived at the market with his cotton, then the next step is now that the cotton is weighed. And we have a few challenges around this. I mentioned to you that the agents that the GINAs employ are generally temporary staff. And so unfortunately, one of the things that happens is that scales are manipulated so that they can earn extra money off the back of the farmer. And so with farmers having experienced that, farmers have sort of countered this by also adding foreign objects into the bags to make their bags heavier. But then the downstream cost of that for the GINA is that increases their processing costs, because now they need to clean the cotton before they can process the cotton. So that really puts a strain on trust within the process. From there, once the cotton has been weighed, the farmer will then move to another agent who's going to issue a receipt. So firstly, this is a manual process. And so obviously that's open to manipulation. But then also where we have issues of literacy, there's a vulnerability created in that, because the farmer is then completely reliant on the person writing the receipt, recording the correct information. From there, the final step then is when the farmer gets paid. So this was the system before COTMIS was deployed. Obviously, the first issue is that there's a cash handling risk. Everyone knows it's cotton season, so people who have not earned any money are looking for ways to earn money through robbing farmers and GINAs. But also through this process, you can see that any kind of disputes are very difficult to resolve, because it's really based on what you have on the piece of paper. And so from a GINA perspective, there's very limited oversight of what happens at these market sites. So the result of this previous market system was that you had an erosion of trust across the value chain because of that limited visibility, and also very little recourse for farmers in disputed transactions. Also, you have very little traceability. The transactions are on paper, very rarely digitized. And then the end result is that over time, we've seen that there's been diminishing investment in the cotton sector. And this is spurred on by poor loan repayments as the first thing, but then also the knock-on effect of that is there are fewer organizations providing input finance to farmers, which means that there are fewer farmers who can actually grow the crop. And where you do have farmers growing the crop out of their pocket, you've got compromised crops because there's a lack of inputs like fertilizer, which could really help to improve the yields for the farmer. And so the sustainability of the farmer is also compromised, even though they are participating in this crop. I think to sum it up, the core problem then is one, fragmented data. We have unverifiable identification, no transparency, and then on top of that, we've got low literacy and poor connectivity within the field. So I think, yeah, that paints a good enough picture in terms of the problem that we're trying to solve with the system. So let's jump to what we were able to achieve. So the impact of digitizing this cotton sector was firstly that we significantly improved the transparency throughout the value chain. In terms of loan repayments specifically, in 2024, loan repayments was at 71%. Last year, we were able to get that to 98%. So obviously this was very good news for GINAs because they were the one providing the finance for the sector. So they were able to get 98% of that investment back. For the Cotton Council itself, they were able to increase their levy collection by 93%. And the only difference was that we were moving from reported numbers from the GINAs to what was reported through the system, through actual transactions that ran through the system. And so that really gives a boost to the development of the sector. In terms of the farmers were now able to have transparent transactions. And so in the event of the dispute, we've got a paper trail to be able to resolve that dispute as quickly as possible. And then finally, I think just overall across the sector, because we had better data, we had improved decision making. So things like market location and the staffing at those locations, as well as the supporting logistics. It's quite a big job to be able to move this cotton from market sites securely to the GINing facilities. And so in terms of the GINers, they then have better data to run their businesses more efficiently. And so that value creation across all the stakeholders was a critical consideration for us. So foundation to all of this is absolutely a secure identity. This is an example of how we've secured the identities for the farmers. For most farmers in rural areas, they don't have national IDs. I think for Malawi, it was sort of a 50% rollout in terms of national IDs. And so that was a critical gap that we needed to fill. So what we did was we issued the farmers with a physical farmer ID. This has a QR code, so it's scannable, and that immediately removes the risk of input error from humans. But also we've got a very short alphanumeric sequence that the farmer is able to memorize in most instances. And so this is an example, if you look at the left, this is an example of the data captured by different players at different times. So if we start with the registration, this farmer was registered on the 12th of October 2024. Registrations were done through the Cotton Council using the government extension officers. Then from there, input distributions were done by the GINAs as the input suppliers. And so this farmer then receives his inputs on the 27th of November 2024. And then if we look at the table below, these are the farmers' transactions. We can see which market he's sold at, which GINA he's sold to, and also the quantities of cotton that he's sold. And so this then really helps to give us good data to be able to build and plan a more efficient sector. So if we look at the COTMOS model, it really focuses on 3 key pillars. So firstly, we've got the people. I've mentioned the stakeholders. At a market level, each of these stakeholders have a role to play. So we have the Cotton Farmers Association. We receive a submission from the Cotton Farmers Association that needs to correlate to the submission we received from the GINA buyers in order for a transaction to be processed. And so that really empowers the different stakeholders, one, to work together, but also to make sure that the interest of the farmer is secured. Then secondly, in terms of the process in the field, we've established some new protocols. So the first thing that happens when a farmer arrives at the market is that their identity is verified. Their farmer ID is scanned in the app, and if a farmer doesn't have a farmer ID, they cannot sell their cotton. They need to have been registered and had their farmer ID issued at registration to be able to sell cotton. Then finally, the platform itself, this houses all the data and also allows for the processing of the transactions as well as the electronic payments. So if we look at the platform itself, this is what that looks like. I think key is firstly, all stakeholders have access to the platform. So that improves transparency for all participants. And so things like quota management is then very visible to everyone to see who has sold, who has bought how much cotton, have they bought more than their allocated quota or not? So, everyone is kept accountable for that. If we look at loan data, that's one of the other features we have in terms of loan management. All the GINAs are responsible for providing the loan data through tools we've provided to them. And so what used to happen previously is a farmer could get a loan from GINA A, and then at marketing season, he would sell to GINA B in order to avoid repaying that loan. But what happens with the central repository now is that it doesn't matter who the farmer sells to. When that transaction comes through the system, we automatically check, does the farmer have a loan? It could be with a different GINA to who they've sold to. That money is then deducted and the farmer is paid the balance. And so it's through that process that we've been able to increase loan repayments quite significantly. Another very important thing is that we have a 3-layered approval process. We've included the GINAs in this approval flow to make sure that everyone is aligned, that these transactions are legitimate transactions. So I think the impact, and this is very important for us, the impact for the farmer is that we are able to protect the farmer at the market, but also unlock efficiencies for the rest of the value chain. So now the farmer receives a secure payment, an electronic payment. There's a formal dispute resolution process, so the farmer is able to log a dispute at the market. Those documents are synced into the system, and we're then able to trace back the supporting documents for that transaction to be able to resolve it. And then over time, what we're now doing is we're able to build up a track record for the farmer. Loan repayments, the level of production coming from that particular farmer. And so that is able to work in very many different ways for the farmer, including his eligibility for the next loan for the following season, for example. Of course, it was not without challenges. Some of the challenges we experienced, one was around payments, specifically for farmers that had low literacy. We had incorrect payment. Details were issued to us, and so payments were made into incorrect accounts, and there was then a long process to recover that money through the banks. In some cases that was successful, in other cases it was not successful. So that was one big challenge. We also had payments around mobile money wallets. So most farmers use mobile money instead of bank accounts. One, because banks are not accessible in these rural areas. And so a significant challenge we experienced last year was there was a limit of 1 million kwacha on these accounts. And so when payments were made in excess of that amount, or if there was already money in the account and the payment is made, that payment then fails. And so through lobbying from the Cotton Council, that limit has now been increased to 5 million for this year, and so we shouldn't have challenges in terms of the limits for this year. Then also technology is always a challenge in these rural communities, poor connectivity and poor record quality. So a lot of the times the market closes, and then the agent needs to move to a different location to be able to sync the data. So what we did have in place was that all of our tools work offline, but it's critical that at the end of the day, you move to a place where there is connectivity so that you can sync the data so that it can be processed. We've also had challenges with collusion between agents because we have now removed the money off the market site. Agents are attempting to find all kinds of creative ways to get paid through fraudulent transactions through the system, and so that's been something that we are working on, incorporating AI to be able to detect where there's a change in the pattern of buying. And I think the last one was just generally literacy, where we have seen that farmers that are illiterate, they've struggled with certain parts of this process, but we believe that because this is now the second year of rolling this out, that's going to be a lot more smoother because they understand, they have some experience in terms of how the markets run now. I think beyond just in terms of the future and what that looks like, I think you can see that the model is certainly, it can be replicated across different geographies and different commodities. But I think what's really critical is to see that through this sort of shared data ecosystem, we've really been able to structure a market and look after the interests of everyone through the sector. And Cotton Council has set a very ambitious target. They want to get to production of 50,000 metric tons. Last year, we were at just over 6,000 metric tons. And so this is really an ambitious target. But through this tool, we are then able to support new investments into the market to be able to reach that objective. Thank you very much for listening. That's the end of my presentation.
Thank you very much, Candice, for that presentation. I'm really, really proud of our presenters and team, as they were really on time. So now opening to question and answer for the sessions that you have attended. If you have some questions, please share it in the chat and I will be reading them. So I think I saw already some questions for you, Candice. Does the platform take care of the farmers' residential location? And the second question is that, seeing there are many players in the cotton value chain, the input suppliers, the chainers, the finance etc., who is the custodian of the COTMIS, and how does this ensure sustainability of the digitalization after the project life? Candice, you can come in and it's written in the chat. Thank you. Please, your question, keep them coming, and our presenters and team will try to answer that. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Kantu. So yes, in terms of the farmer's location, we do have we map the farmer's fields as part of the registration process. And so yes, that is part of what is saved. I think just in terms of that, we also rely very heavily on the Cotton Farmers Association, because they are obviously the boots on the ground in terms of farmers and where they are, and keeping the farmers organized. Then in terms of the system and sustainability, we've certainly learned a lot of lessons around that. And so what we've come to is that obviously, because of the value that this creates for the sector is now paying for the system. And so that resolves the sustainability questions that's now, factored into the cost of running the markets on an annual basis. But yeah, in terms of the data, obviously, we house the data, but the data doesn't belong to us. This belongs to the Cotton Council, as well as the transactions. The transaction data then belongs to the Cotton Council and the GINAs as well.
Thank you, Candice. Does anyone have more questions, whether it's in AI, digital innovation, or on the innovation exhibition on the biotechnology, or you are more interested on the aquaponics or this digital ecosystem? If you have more questions, I see that Daniel is keen to get the slides to study them more attentively. Yes, the slide will be shared. All of the presentations will be on the there will be an email on StEPPFoS also website, or it will be made available to everyone. Yes, Dr. Mary Jane Chimuka.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear.
I just wanted to ask Candice, thank you very much for a very interesting platform. I am very much interested in that because it's part of what we are trying to do at South Africa also, to come up with, I hope one of our technicians is listening. We are trying to do apps that can help these farmers in this aquaponics and collect the data. The platform, how, I just wanted to know is that through the app, or how is it put together? Because it's quite complicated as there are many players. Is it a system that you do, a software? You hear what I'm trying to say. I'm not a software person, but I'm hoping that Zebu is listening, so that, I think it's quite a very, very, very nice thing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Dr. Chimuka, yes, Candice.
No, thank you. So it's a combination of things. We've got a mobile app, and then we've also got a web app for the processing of the transaction. So it's a combination of tools in the field, and then the tools that are used in the office for the processing.
Can I ask a follow-up question? What tools app do you use, please, if you don't mind sharing?
Sure. So we've got our Cotmos Loan Manager app is an Android app. And specifically, it was built to work offline, so that, when someone is out far in the field, they're able to use the tool. We sync the data onto the tool locally so that they're able to transact. And then, but the offline functionality means that they can, at the end of the day, go somewhere else and then sync that data. And then, yeah, all of that goes into our web app, where the processing is then done by the Cotton Council.
Thank you. Thank you, Candice. We also see some great comments from the first session where Moyo Pulisani commented that it's true that the future for agriculture and sustainability is in AI. He also believed that nanotechnology and AI can do wonders in agriculture productivity while maintaining soil fertility. So we truly need to push for strong policy focus shift in Africa. So I think for our policymakers attending here, you have some interest here on pushing, focus shift on AI, on the use of AI and having an enabling environment, for that. There's another question for you, Candice. Thanks for the presentation. However, from Godfred Frempong, how do prevent mobile money fraud, especially with the illiterate farmers? Candice?
Thank you very much. That has definitely been a big challenge for us. And there is, I'll give you an example of where sort of electronic payments is really, it's created a new problem. In that when we had a story where an elderly lady went to the market and sold her cotton, and her phone number was written down on a piece of paper. And when the SIM card was with her grandchildren, and so when the notification came in, they had a big party with her money, and so the money was gone. And so there's definitely a need for financial literacy, especially for farmers who are illiterate. And unfortunately, there's not much that we can do in that scenario, except to teach farmers how to manage access to their funds once it's in an electronic state.
Thank you, Candice, for that input, and also Godfred for raising that. I think that is an angle that we need to look at as well. Do we still have more questions coming in? Also, I think as Daniel shared on the chat, to follow, StEPPFoS Project on LinkedIn, where we have more updates on what's upcoming next on the events. Okay, so if there's no more questions, I would like to thank our speakers, partners, and participants for this very engaging day one on the Virtual Knowledge Forum on sustainable food systems. So today's session, we have highlighted, the critical role of AI, digital innovation, biotechnology, and climate resilient system, in transforming food system across Africa. So we explored practical solution from AI-empowered environmental monitoring and digital farmer platforms to resilient crop technologies and aquaponic systems. So a strong message, I think, throughout the day was really also the importance of collaboration, innovation, and inclusive technologies in building sustainable and resilient food system. So on behalf of the organizers, we thank you for your active participation and valuable contribution. So we look forward to continuing the discussions during day 2, same time tomorrow. So we thank you and have a wonderful day ahead. Thank you, everyone, and goodbye.